You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 391, The Real Reason You're Always So Busy. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Are you constantly telling people how busy you are? Has "I'm so busy" become your automatic response to "how are you"? And what about that voice in your head, the one that whispers, "There's never enough time," or "I wish things would slow down," or perhaps "I can't keep up with all of this"? What if I told you that there's a real reason you're always feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, and it has nothing to do with your to-do list? Stick around, because in today's episode, I'm revealing the underlying beliefs that keep you wearing busy like a badge of honor. What this toxic busy is actually costing you both externally and internally, and why making the shift from busy to intentional requires more than just better time management. And if you have listened to my conversation with Jude Charles last week, you know that we touched on this exact issue. Today, I'm going to be diving deeper into what we started discussing last week. And before we dive in, I want to personally invite you to take my next level business owner quiz. What is more productive than taking 3 short minutes to find out what is most holding you back in your business? And then you will get a personalized, curated playlist of this podcast with specific episodes that address your challenges. And they are not just episodes sharing knowledge, but specific strategies you can take action on immediately to see results in your business. So head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's get to the straight talk. How are you? 3 simple words. And I bet you know your answer. Busy? Maybe so busy. Or if you're feeling really creative, it's crazy busy. It rolls off your tongue without thinking, doesn't it? Like it's become your default setting, your automatic response, your identity. In fact, when I realized that I was saying this many, many years ago, it actually challenged me to respond differently. And we're going to talk more about that today, but I am just curious. Do you answer busy, so busy, busy good, crazy busy, or some different variation of that? In fact, this exact thing came up in my conversation with Jude Charles in last week's episode. And we were talking about burnout and boundaries. And during that conversation, we both admitted to wearing busy as a badge of honor. That conversation really got me thinking, and I realized we needed to go deeper into this. So, if you haven't already listened to that episode 390, you should absolutely go do that right after this episode, or hit pause and go back to listen to that episode, because it was an incredible conversation going behind the business and digging deep into important topics for business owners. Now, what about what you're not saying out loud? That internal dialogue that's on repeat. There's never enough time. I wish things would slow down. Why can't I get caught up? When will this get easier? Any of that internal chatter sound familiar? You're projecting. I'm handling it all, while inside you're drowning. You're wearing busy like a badge of honor while secretly wishing you could just breathe. But here's what I want to ask you today, and I really want you to think about this. When did busy become your badge of honor? When did busy become part of your identity and the way that you move? You move in your business, you move in your life. When did running yourself ragged become something to brag about? Now, let me be really clear about something important as we dive into this conversation. I am not talking about having a full, engaging life. That's the good busy. I am not talking about being passionate about your work and having a calendar filled with things you've intentionally chosen. Because again, that is good. The kind of engaged, purposeful busy is exactly how I navigate my own life. And from the outside in, I get family members, not my immediate family, but extended family, and maybe some friends that always say, but you're always so busy. And it makes me cringe because I know they mean it negatively, but internally, I have done this work for a very long time to ride that balance of toxic busy versus intentional busy. And that is my personality. I love being busy, but busy intentionally, on purpose, with boundaries, and filling my life and calendar with things that I absolutely love. Today, we are talking about toxic kind of busy, that frantic, reactive, like no boundaries, busy that leaves you exhausted and empty. The kind where you're so overwhelmed, you can't even remember why you started being a business owner in the first place. Because let me tell you something, there's a real reason you're always, quote unquote, so busy. And it's possibly not what you're thinking. It's not because you have too much to do, though I know that it feels that way, and that does feel like your reality. It's not because your clients need you 24/7. It's not even because there aren't enough hours in the day. The real reason goes much, much deeper than your to-do list. And today, we're going to uncover it together. Let's talk about the beliefs behind this busy badge of honor that so many of us wear without even realizing it. In fact, those might not even be your words. You may not even see it as a badge of honor. But I want you to stay tuned and see if anything that I'm sharing in today's episode hits home for you. Society has programmed us with some pretty powerful beliefs about what being busy means. And until we uncover these beliefs, we cannot change them. So let me walk you through the 7 core beliefs that I think are the core beliefs. And probably there are far more because we've all been raised in a little bit different culture and different family beliefs. And so maybe you have even more or different, but I'm going to share with you the 7 beliefs that I see showing up over and over again with the business owners that I work with. First, busy equals important. Many of us have been taught this. If our schedule is full, we must be in demand, right? People need us, therefore we matter. It's like busyness has become the social status symbol. We literally say things like, I'm too important to have free time. Have you ever caught yourself thinking that way? Or perhaps that's the way in which you see the world and you don't realize that that is why you're busy, is because you see other busy people as important. Next, there's the belief that busy equals productive. And this one is something I have been unraveling for business owners for nearly 15 years. And so many of us believe that productive or being productive is synonymous with being busy. And unfortunately, fortunately, let me correct myself. Fortunately, that is not the truth. And in fact, much of the work that I end up doing is so surprisingly shocking to clients. And it's about pulling back. It's not about doing more. It's about subtracting, reducing, being purposeful. And that allows you to be more productive. And this one is sneaky because we can confuse being active and having constant meetings and endless emails and the back-to-back calls with actually producing results. We mistake motion for progress, and somehow we've decided that idle time is wasteful or lazy, even when that quiet time might be exactly what we need for strategic thinking or perhaps restoration. Because if you've been a long-time listener of this podcast, you know that my belief is that our businesses just need us to show up our best. And our best is not about being busy, thinking that we're productive. Because being productive is actually about being incredibly intentional about where we're investing our time, energy, and attention. And we've done several episodes about the power of slowing down so that we can speed up. And I just want to highlight one little bit in this belief to have you think about. When I was sharing things that you may whisper internally or having chatter internally in your own dialogue with yourself, if your internal dialogue is, I would give anything to be able to slow down and rise above and zoom out and think strategically about my business and life, potentially the underlying belief that busy equals productive is sabotaging that. The third belief that I want to go over with you, this one runs real deep, and it's that busy equals hardworking. Yes. This is one that I had to unravel, and I can't really tell you where I picked that up from. And I just from a young age was recognized for working hard. I was seen as someone that would always work hard, and I got positive reinforcement from it. And it was very interesting how that ended up showing up in my business and in my life. You may think that long hours equals strong work ethic. We literally wear exhaustion like it's some kind of medal. Struggle proves commitment. Like you are in this, you are going to grind this out and you are going to make this business successful. Reset is indulgent. Rest seems like you haven't earned it yet. Work is noble. When did we decide that suffering was a requirement for success? I really want that question to sit with you. Maybe you saw business owners when you were young and you saw them working long hours and days and grinding it out, and that was the only way to rightfully earn the label of being successful. Maybe that's nothing that you saw, that you just picked up this belief that hardworking was being a good person. And I think that that's what my belief was like being a good person meant that you were not the opposite, which would be lazy, right? And so unraveling all that and questioning it and getting curious about where did this messaging and beliefs come from? And I will say that, like I just said, I don't actually know where it all came from, but I was able to go back and think about, well, when was I having those first thoughts? How did that show up when I was younger and a teenager and my young adult? And were those beliefs still serving me? We're going to talk about more of that and as we dive deeper into today's episode. But that's actually something really good to be questioning as I go through these 7 beliefs. If you find that you have these beliefs, underlying beliefs, ask yourself, are those beliefs serving you well? Here's another one. Busy equals successful. And we kind of touched on that in the last two, but this one stands alone. Busy equals successful. A packed calendar becomes our marker of achievement. We measure success by how much we can juggle, not by our actual outcomes or, heaven forbid, our own joy, our own satisfaction with our businesses. There's this constant nagging feeling that if you are not crushing it every single moment, or in my terms, I say things like running, I run in the business, meaning there's no jogging, there's no walking, I am running. If you're not running every single moment, are you somehow falling behind? That's a great question. And I know that that is not true now, but that is not the belief that I had and how it impacted how I had grown my own business early on. And I'm just curious, what are your thoughts around being busy as being successful? The fifth belief is that busy equals responsible. Now, in my Clifton Strengths Finders, my top 5, one of my top 5 is being responsible. And so it's very interesting that being responsible, unhealthy, right? Our strengths can be healthy, they could be unhealthy, but unchecked, this thought that, being busy equals responsible. This one especially hits women because good people put everyone else's needs first, right? I'm not saying this is a woman's issue alone, but I do know that for many women, this one is really a bit more difficult for us. We want to say yes to everything, show reliability, we're going to show loyalty, we want people to be seen, we want them to know we care about them, and reframe having too much on our plates as, if we think that we have too much on our plates and we're observing that thought, that it could be seen as selfish, rather than what it is acknowledging that we may have too much on our plate and having good boundaries. Number 6 might be the most fear-based. Busy equals secure. And when I was writing this, I want you to know that being busy and wearing busy as a badge of honor, there's this underlining through thread of scarcity. Because I can tell you, being on the other side of it, if you come from abundance and not fear-based, you really do make a lot of different decisions in your business. So this underlying belief is busy equals secure. And I can tell you this comes up a lot. Think about it. When business slows down, does it feel more insecure, unstable, unknown? We don't know when the next business is, if the phone's not ringing off the hook, or even just kind of surface level, if you're not putting fires out every day, are you hold on, is there enough business? Sometimes we can have this really unhealthy relationship with being the person that's solving all the problems and being super busy with those types of things, as it means, okay, good, business is bustling, business is really, really taking off. Whereas when it slows down, these scarcity thoughts, these insecure thoughts start creeping in, thinking, oh no, what's happening? Is the business going to go under? Busyness protects us from feeling irrelevant. Keeping us occupied provides this false sense of safety in our competitive culture, right? So if you go to lunch with a friend, think about this. You go to lunch with a friend. I've had to practice this on for myself, okay? So this is not theoretical. This is really real conversations that I have. And I will talk to a business friend and they'll be like, oh my gosh, things are so busy. They're so great. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, all these things, right? And if it truly is in a healthy zone, all right, I'm all for it. But oftentimes, as the lunch or happy hour progresses, you find out that busyness, there's a lot behind it, and it is not as pretty as on the surface. And in that moment when a friend could be like, it's so busy, things are so this, that, whatever. And then what do I say? There are times that I have said, things are moving really, really well in the business. Or I would say, things are going really, really well. I've had a lot of time off. Or I might say, things are going great. We're in the middle of a project. Or, I took things slower this summer and that felt really good. Honestly, those conversations can be really uncomfortable. Like, I'm coming from left field, and don't think that fear of competitiveness of like, oh my gosh, am I not enough? Are they going to think my business isn't doing well? Like, should I be telling them all these things I'm doing when that's not the reality? I am being very intentional and purposeful with my schedule. And yes, on all accounts, financially, it's doing well. It's serving my family. My team is getting paid. My clients are being served really well. But that wasn't the question. The question is like, what are you doing? And they're asking for that energy of, what's all the things you're doing that you should be excited about? And that no longer excites me to answer in that way. All right. I'm totally going off script, but I did want to share those examples with you because this is a journey worth it. This is a journey to shift your entire experience of being a business owner, but it is going to be uncomfortable waters until it's not. And finally, and this is where it gets really interesting and why I initially titled the episode I did, is busy has become our identity. Think about it. What is your default answer when someone asks, how are you? I bet it's some version of busy. And we talked about this already in the episode. But it's become this performance of worth we put on ourselves. Busy provides a shield. It helps us avoid vulnerability, avoid real reflection, avoid admitting that maybe, just maybe, we're actually unfulfilled. And I'm not saying that that's a conversation that you have with anyone that asks you how you are. But if your default response is things are really good, things are busy, and you have someone that you feel like you could talk to about this and be actually unfiltered, that is worth having that conversation. Now, that conversation isn't with anyone. I will say that this is where my conversations go with many of my clients, is that I am a safe place for them to honestly evaluate. And in this example that we're talking about, is busy what they want? Are they really avoiding something else? Are they avoiding the feelings, the emotions that come with slowing down? Sometimes it's really hard for us to be in our own thoughts, even about our own business as things slow down, because we don't want to face maybe there's something really big that needs to change, like letting somebody go, going in a different direction, pivoting your branding. There's a lot of big decisions in business that get procrastinated on and pushed down the road because the space, the time, the energy, the attention is being filled with being busy. And while you're saying, I'm so busy, your internal voice is often saying something entirely different. It might be saying, I'm exhausted, I can't keep up with this, there has to be a better way. But we keep performing the busy script because that's what's expected, and that honestly is what feels most comfortable. Being busy has become who we are, not just what we do. So I'm going to just recap these really briefly again. And if you want to go back and listen to this section again, hit rewind, because I think it's worth really understanding the pieces that resonate with you. Not all of this will resonate, but what pieces resonate and are worth looking at and going deeper with, and just not judging, but really understanding what is driving your decisions, because your decisions are affecting your business. We're going to get into that much further into this episode, but please know that when your underlying beliefs are there and often unchallenged, we don't know that is what is impacting the decisions or indecision we're making in our business. So just as a quick recap, busy equals important. Busy equals productive. Busy equals hardworking. Busy equals successful. Busy equals responsible. And busy equals secure. And lastly, busy has become our identity. Now let's get real about what this busy badge is actually costing you. Not just in your business, but in your real life. Because while we're wearing it like a medal of honor, it is taking a costly, huge toll that you might not even fully realize. And so I want to start with what I think is the most important cost, and that cost is you. Are you feeling it? Are you the constant state of busy that's destroying your health? I'm talking about the chronic stress that keeps your shoulders glued to your ears, stressed, tense. I know you know what I mean. Do you have backaches and headaches? Do you have anxiety that has you wide awake at 3 a.m. with your mind racing through tomorrow's to-do list? Do you feel that you are running on nothing? Like maybe you're running on coffee, maybe you're running on just literally feeling exhausted. And this can happen on a mental level, and this can happen on a physical level, and often both, to be honest. And the internal dialogue that will not shut off, like, I should be doing more. I'm falling behind. Everyone else seems to handle it better than me. What's wrong with me? Why can't I spin all the plates at once? Because it seems like everybody else is. Maybe you're thinking there's never enough time. Like, how is it possible that everyone else has the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but like there's got to be something wrong with me because I can't figure this out? It is like having your bully from high school or junior high. We'll go to junior high. Junior high was rough for me, was probably rough for many of you. We're going to go back to, is there a bully residing inside your head? Or maybe it's a critical boss that is criticizing you 24/7 in your head. What are those internal conversations, dialogues, chatter, thoughts that you have going on? Your body, it is keeping the score. And busyness is racking up debt that you cannot afford. Those tension headaches, perhaps you have digestive issues that were not there before. Maybe even that eye twitching that won't go away. I have seen it all. Your body is literally screaming for you to slow down, but you're often too busy to listen. And I'm being brought to tears just right now thinking of this because I can think of several clients that have come to me with major health challenges during our journey of working together. And once you can see this and you realize it and you're working on this, oftentimes there is a connection where you say, oh my gosh, like my body is screaming at me. I know that I'm sick because I just came off of a season of being incredibly stressed. Or I know I have this chronic thing because I have ignored myself so long that now it is just screaming. And unfortunately, some of this can be tied to this energy of being busy all of the time. And the decisions that we're making with how we're investing our time, energy, and attention into not just our business, but also our life, because we are whole people. You may, and I just want to throw this out here, is you may be exhausted, maybe not by your business, but you're exhausted by all of your personal commitments. Maybe you volunteer way too much. Like you volunteer because you want to be helpful and you want to contribute to your community, and it's with a good heart. But there's no boundaries to it. You don't know what your capacity is because you're judging your capacity based on what you think other people's capacity is. And somehow, maybe the source of stress is not just solely in your business, or the source of I'm so busy is not just the source of your business. And we do talk about this a lot in episodes. And of course, when I'm working with my clients, is that every business has a season, but so do our lives. And ensuring that we understand what season we're in is so important to understanding what our capacity is. My son is older. He's 15. Like, he is on autopilot. Like, really. Like compared to what it took to raise him as a toddler, as a child, I have a lot more time on my hands now that he's older than I did when he was younger. And I wish I had had that perspective, understanding that that was just a season, and that I knew that I had far more responsibilities in the home during that season, and that what it looked like on my capacity to be able to give to the business looked really different and looks different today. And mom cry moment, I have 3 years and he's off to college or starting his life. And so my brain is always already thinking, like, what does this next season look like? Like, what do I want with regards to how I feel at my time when I'm going to have a lot more time when I don't have a kid at home? So let's bring this back to what I was talking about, because I kind of went off on a tangent. But what I want you to understand is that your body could literally be screaming for you to slow down, and you do not have to wait that long. In fact, I know I already referenced it, but if you have not listened to Jude Charles' 390 episode, you have got to listen to his crazy story of waking up one day and not being able to move anything from his neck down. We are talking major screaming of the body that he could no longer ignore and had to change the way in which he was interacting with his business. So I want to transition and talk to you about what's happening mentally. When you're constantly in busy mode, you're operating from a place of scarcity and fear. Just sit with that for a second. Are you navigating your day-to-day in anxiety, in fear of not getting it all done, not having enough time, being late? How about scarcity of thoughts like, when I'm at work, I'm guilty I'm not at home, and when I'm at home and paying attention to my loved ones, I feel guilty that I'm not at work? When we're operating from a place of, I would say, level of busy, and if you dig deeper, it's scarcity and fear, there is often no mental space left for creativity and innovation, because you are not thriving anymore. You are just surviving. And that joy, think about when you first started your business and you were like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to be in control of my schedule, and I'm going to have more freedoms, and I'm going to do the things I love. Do you still have that excitement that you used to feel about your business? It's gotten buried under the weight of endless tasks, meetings, projects, and commitments. When was the last time you felt genuinely excited about your work? I want to know. Like, can you remember when you woke up or it was Sunday night and you're like, I cannot wait to start Monday morning? That is when one of the biggest gifts that I have experienced in the last decade of shifting and changing my mindset around this. And that is that I generally get to choose the things that I'm most excited about. I get to do those consistently in my business, and how blessed and how grateful I am for the fact that I have built a business that allows me or gives me the opportunity to be so excited about on a regular basis. Because I had to ask myself, just as I have my clients ask themselves, if this business is not bringing you joy, and unfortunately often not bringing you the dollars to your family that you ideally want, some variation of that, both sometimes, one or the other. Why are you doing this? Like, why aren't you just taking a job and working for someone else and having a steady income? Maybe one or two, I'm going to say one or two out of hundreds of business owners that are like, yeah, like I'm actually going to do that. I'm actually closing. Actually, I can't think of two people specifically. I'm closing the business and I'm going to go do something else. But everyone else that gets asked that question, it's a deep question worth answering. And if you don't know or you don't like what your current situation is, that's the work. And we're going to talk about that in this next segment of this episode. But that's the work, is creating a business that brings you joy, that you're excited about, that you're not dreading on Monday morning, that you leave with energy when you go home to the people you love. That's what this is about. But before we dive into that conversation, I want to dive into another very costly cost that can actually breaks my heart. And it's the cost to your relationships. I have had clients come to me on a discovery call and specifically tell me that if something does not change in their business, they're getting divorced. And that's the initial motivation of like, now is the time to change. But just like hearing your body screaming at you because you're getting sick all the time, or you have some chronic disease, or you're getting headaches or migraines or all these things, you don't have to wait until your marriage is on the verge of divorce. However, if you do find yourself in that place, like, yes, like this is the line in the sand. This is your rock bottom of where you are going to make those changes. And that being busy all the time and running your business the way that you are is a no-go, a full stop. That is a very motivating reason to make those changes, but you don't have to wait until you get to that point. I want to ask you, what are your kids hearing from you? Like, seriously, are they hearing not now, I'm busy? Are they hearing that more than I have time for you, I can't wait to go to your practices? Even if you're not saying those words, our kids are observing our energy. And my initial title of today's episode was actually going to be called The Energy of Busy. And the reason I was going to title that is because this literally exudes how we interact with our loved ones, with our team, with our clients, with people that could possibly be referring you business. Is the energy of busy is actually absolutely affecting your relationships and how they perceive you. I want to ask you, like, are the people that love you most getting the exhausted, irritable, checked out version of you? Like, are they getting the leftovers when you're completely drained and zoned out at the end of the day? Or maybe your friends have stopped inviting you to places because you always say, wait for it, I'm busy. Or maybe you say yes and then you cancel because you truly are so busy and we don't have those boundaries to be able to hold happy hour with our friends because something comes up in the business. You are building a successful business, but I have to ask you, at what cost? You're losing the very relationships that matter most, the ones that you are supposedly doing this for. Many of us, that is our motivation for having a business, is that we're doing it to impact and change the people we love and their lives. And yet, that is not the result that we're getting. My business has had the same tagline for a very, very long time. You've heard it at the top of every single episode that you've listened to. And the ending of it says, so that you have time for what matters most. And it's a general statement of matters most. And I've gone back and forth on that, meaning Do I need to be more specific? And the truth is that you are not the same as me. What matters to me is different than what matters to you. But what I know is true and universal is that we do want a business and we want to build a business so that we have time for what matters most. And perhaps that's relationships, or maybe it's a hobby, or maybe it's prioritizing our health, or whatever that looks like. Our businesses should not be costing us the time, energy, and attention that we want to be investing in whatever matters most to you. Now, as much as that personal cost matters, let's talk about what this is doing to your business specifically, because it's just as serious. Think about what happens when potential clients hear you say, "I'm so busy." What they're actually hearing is, "I don't have room for you." They're wondering if you'll give them the attention they deserve and if they'll just be another task on your overwhelming list. And I just need to repeat that the original title of today's episode was The Energy of Busy. So please note that even if you are not saying, "I'm so busy," you still may be saying, "I'm so busy," with your energy, with the way you move, with the way you interact, if you come in frazzled, distracted. So please note that I am not just talking about the words that come out of your mouth. Premium clients, they want to work with someone who has the capacity to truly focus on them. Not someone who is drowning, not someone who makes them feel like they're just adding to their already chaotic situation or day. And here's something else to consider. True experts, they have systems, they have boundaries, and they're not in constant overwhelm. So when you're always broadcasting how busy you are, it's actually undermining your expertise. It doesn't signal high demand, it signals poor time management. That frantic, rushed energy, it makes the clients feel sometimes unimportant, like they're just another checkbox on the endless list. Let's talk about the cost of strategic thinking for a minute. As business owners, strategic thinking is the thing that we need and want most. And we've talked about this in other episodes, that it's one of the hardest things that is asked of us as business owners is to be able to be in the day-to-day details and zoom out. When was the last time that you had space to zoom out and look at the bigger picture? When you're stuck in busy mode, you completely lose that ability. You're so deep in the day-to-day fires that you can't even see the opportunities that may be right in front of you, because those opportunities seem like an inconvenience. They seem like something that you do not have time for. And so my question to you is, what energy are you bringing to your business when opportunities may be falling right in your lap? Perhaps you're not even planning for growth anymore because the idea of growth is so overwhelming. You're like, how am I even keeping up with today? How am I surviving until Friday, much less asking for more business? You're just reacting to whatever is screaming loudest instead of focusing on what actually matters most in your business. I want you to think about your ups and downs in being consistent with marketing and visibility. Sometimes we might even do proposals or do a discovery call, a consultation, whatever your business model does in that first introductory to a potential client. And is your undertone like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't know how I'm going to take this on. Oh my gosh, I am already so busy." Again, what energy are you putting out there? I've had clients come to coaching sessions that said, "I just lost this opportunity. Like, I lost a client. I thought I had it in the bag. They did not hire me." And after digging a little deeper, sometimes the realization of my clients on their own, and this isn't always by any means, but sometimes the realization is, actually, I think that I might have put it out in the universe that I just didn't have time for them. Like, there's no way that I could have had the capacity to take them on. And whether those are the words I used, I have a feeling that that impacted my ability to land this client. Let's talk about decision making. Again, as the CEO and business owner, you are making decisions all of the time. But being so busy, this is an expensive one. Every decision becomes either rushed because you're in constant busy mode, or you are pushing it off and in indecision. Like you're not making a decision because you're keeping yourself so busy. Perhaps you take on clients who are not a good fit because you're too overwhelmed to properly vet them, or too overwhelmed to come up with a system to understand what is your true team's capacity. You may hire quickly because you're doing it out of survival. You are doing it because you feel desperate for help instead of being deliberate, decisive, and hiring the right person because that is what is truly best for the business. And here's the thing, these rushed decisions, they compound. They create even bigger problems down the road, and they take even more time to fix them. So you're really making decisions today that are affecting your ability to be able to make decisions in the future. And I can say that the opposite is true as well. If you're avoiding decision making, that inaction is actually what you're dealing with in your future self, next week, next month, next quarter, the end of the year. Those things that you're dealing with right now in your reality that are robbing your time and creating the chaoticness and creating the busyness is the result of either decisions or indecisions that have been made in the past. And that's actually good news. And that's actually a whole nother episode, but I'll just drop that here for a second for you to sit with. Hearing that might be a hard, straight truth. Like that's very direct, that your reality is the result of decisions or indecisions you have made in the past. But to me, I can flip that on its head and be like, that is actually the best news ever. Because what that means is that you are 100% responsible and have the ability to change your future. All right, let's talk about the cost to your team. When you as a leader are always too busy, your team gets the message loud and clear, don't bother me. So guess what? They stop bothering you. They stop bringing you ideas. They stop flagging problems when they're still small and manageable. They start making decisions without you because you don't have the time anyways. And this is really about also the morale and the culture of your team. So if you don't have the time to meet with them and you're scheduling team meetings or one-on-one meetings and it's whenever they get in and however they fit in, or you cancel on them last minute, what is that real message to your team? Because you need your team, and yet they feel like you don't have time for them. Even your best people, your right-hand people, they are going to want a leader who actually has time to lead them. And the culture becomes one where everyone wears their own busy badge because that's what you're modeling. In fact, if we go back to your underlining beliefs, many of you are in your second chapter, your second career, where you've started your business, but you came from some sort of 9 to 5. And maybe your underlining beliefs came from that. What were you modeled? Were you modeled that busy is a badge of honor? And if you're doing that, think about how that has a rippling effect on the team that is all around you now. Next, how being too busy affects you financially. How wearing that badge of honor is costing you big time. Perhaps it looks like you can't raise your prices when you appear to be so overwhelmed. Think about it. Why would someone pay premium prices to work with someone who barely has the time to keep their own head above water? So you end up competing on volume instead of value. You're too busy to create new offerings or improve your systems. You're leaving money on the table because you don't have time to optimize. And I want to add a few other things here, and I see this all the time. You know that you are running probably less efficiently than you want to. And unfortunately, what I see is that if you are hourly, let's say you are a attorney, interior designer, even if you do flat rate for whatever you sell and your services, you are essentially writing off hours because of guilt, because maybe you missed an appointment, maybe you were late to an appointment, maybe you were not prepared for an appointment or a presentation. Or perhaps you feel like your team or you are running less than optimal efficiency. And because you're coming from a place of integrity and you don't want to pass that on to your client, you're writing off hours. And this is not a little leak. This is huge cracks of money being lost. And I get it. Like, I get the reason why you may be doing that. But I'm telling you that there is a different way. You can close those leaks. You can walk in with your head held high. You can own the rate in which you are commanding for the services that you are providing. You can charge for the hours because you know that the value you bring supersedes even what you are charging. All right, well, let's transition into the ultimate cost. And this one might sting a little. Control. Every single time you wear busy badge, you're announcing to the world and to yourself that you are not in control of your business. You're admitting that your business runs you instead of the other way around. You've become a slave to the very thing you created to give you freedom. I'm going to rephrase it as a question. Do you feel like you have become a slave to the very thing you've created to give you freedom? And lastly, you may be modeling that success equals suffering. You're teaching everyone around you, your team, your clients, your family, that the one way to be successful is to sacrifice everything. That burning out is just the price of achievement. This is very much tied to an underlying belief as well, because if we don't believe that we can own success, that we can hold our heads up and see ourselves as successful, then even when we are in other people's view successful, or maybe in your own view successful, it's almost got to come at a and but. And but I work really, really hard for it. And but I'm willing to sacrifice everything to excel and succeed in this area. And whether you're saying those words or not, is that how you feel about owning your own success? Because if you believe and feel that way, you are certainly creating a life, a reality, a business based on that belief. Let's take a breath for a second, because I know what I just shared with you was heavy. It was direct. It may have hit home. You may have felt like, is she inside my head? You may be thinking, I didn't even know that I was operating with these underlying beliefs. And like, well, how did she understand what the realities of everyday business felt like? And if you're feeling a little exposed right now or a little seen, I just want to say that that is okay. Like, this is a safe place. Like, I am in your ears or in your car. It's you and it's me. And I just want to tell you that that is the gift that I intended for today's episode, is that it's the gift of awareness, because that is actually the first step. I always use this analogy of, even my childhood or previous worldviews that I had. And I think about it as like a fish doesn't even know it's in water. It's just the reality. And in fact, it's the filter, right? It has to look through the water to see the world. And if you don't even know you're looking through water, like how can you understand that that's the filter in which you're seeing the world? And so many times in my own life, I have become aware and had awareness and had ahas of underlining beliefs or filters or the way that I make decisions. Like, well, why did I make decisions that way? Either intentionally or unintentionally making decisions. And once you realize that you're in water, or you realize the filters in which are in front of you when you make decisions, that is incredibly powerful. And I just want to tell you that that is a gift, because now you can choose something different. Now you understand your operating system, in which you're like, why is this my reality? Like, why does my everyday feel like this? Why does my business feel like this? Why does, like, when you're asking those questions, oftentimes the answer is the filter in which you're seeing the world through. I want to close this out, and I want to share with you where to go from here. I want to talk about what does it take, and how do you shift from this energy of busy to being something more intentional? And I need to be really straight with you, because that's what we do here, right? I am sorry to say that while the gift is awareness in today's episode, this is not a quick fix. I cannot give you a 5 steps to stop being busy by Friday framework. That is not what I can do for you, because that would be completely dishonest. And frankly, it would be adding to the problem, that just another checklist to make you feel like you're failing if you can't complete it perfectly. Or maybe you complete it perfectly and it doesn't freaking work. And that is because it was never going to work. But somebody might be telling you, just do this, just do that, and everything will be okay. And it is not a quick fix. This shift from busy to intentional, it is deep work, it is personal work, and it looks differently for every single business owner, because your version of busy is tangled up with your specific beliefs, fears, and patterns. And I would add experiences. But here's what makes it even more complex, and this is crucial to understand. Those beliefs, fears, and patterns, they haven't just affected your mindset. They have literally shaped how you have built your entire business. And this is what I was speaking about earlier. So I really want you to think about that. Beliefs, fears, patterns, habits. They are not just about a mindset shift. They have literally shaped every decision or indecision you've made, thus how you have built your entire business. Your business model might require you to be on constantly. Your service delivery might have 0 boundaries built in. Your pricing might be set up for volume over value, because busy people need more clients to feel successful. Your team structure probably has everything flowing through you because you're too busy to properly delegate. Your systems or lack of systems create constant firefighting that keeps you busy. You have actually built a business that requires you to be busy. It's not just about changing your mindset. It's about restructuring how you lead, how you manage your time, your entire business strategy, your service delivery model, pretty much everything. But here's what I want you to know is possible. Imagine waking up and your first thought isn't about your to-do list. Imagine internal dialogue shifting from, there's never enough time, to, I have time for what matters most. That is my own affirmation that I say every single day. I have time for what matters most. From wishing that things would slow down to, I'm exactly where I need to be. Imagine your own energy shifting in your relationship with your business. Like, you are no longer resenting your clients, resenting your business, resenting your team, and fill in the blank of resentment, whatever emotions you're feeling. You're waking up saying, I have time for what matters most, and I am exactly where I need to be. Imagine looking at your calendar and seeing white space and feeling peaceful about it instead of guilty. And if you don't already know so, we'll link out to the show notes. I just did an entire episode about white space being your superpower. So that one's more about the strategy of it. But here's how that ties in is that, like, can you do that strategy? That entire episode, I'm sharing why it's your superpower, but can you also feel peaceful instead of guilty about it? Imagine someone asking, "How are you?" and having a real answer that isn't busy. And imagine your internal voice matching your external one. Calm, confident, intentional. Imagine telling a potential client, "I'm selective about the projects I take on," instead of, "I'm so busy." Can you feel the energy shift between those two statements? I am selective about the projects I take on, instead of, "I'm so busy." One is scattered and desperate, and the other is powerful and intentional. So let's talk about what starts to shift when you move from busy to intentional. First, you start to see that being selective isn't the same thing as being lazy. Being intentional is not the same thing as being lazy. In fact, it takes more courage to say no than to say yes. It takes more strength to have boundaries than to be available 24/7. You begin to understand that your worth isn't measured by your calendar's fullness. Your value does not increase with your exhaustion level. Success isn't about juggling more, it's about choosing better. But here's the thing, and this is really important. Knowing this intellectually and actually living it, that's where the real work is. Because that busy badge, it's serving you in some way. I know how it was serving me. That badge is serving you in some way, or you wouldn't keep wearing it. Maybe it helps you avoid difficult decisions. And those decisions may be decisions in your personal life or decisions in your business or anywhere else. Because I have seen clients create a lot of energy of busyness because they're really avoiding something at home. Or maybe it's easier to be too busy than to admit that you don't know what to focus on next. So, what can you start noticing? Start paying attention to when you use the word busy as your default response. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Just observe. Be the observer of the words and the thoughts that you're having. What are you feeling in that moment? What are you avoiding? I'm going to give you a very personal example. So I have great friends in my personal life. So I have like business friends, and then I say I have personal friends. And what that means is they are not business owners. Many of them are people I've gone to school with in high school, or they're wives of people that my husband and I went to school with. And they'll ask me, and I would hide because I was having so much success in my business, because some really amazing things were happening. And instead of saying something that I was proud of or that I did really do well in my business, I would answer with, "Things are really great. Things are really busy. Yeah, we're keeping really busy." And I would even say it long like that. "Yep, things are really good. Things are really busy." And I would just let that sit and hope they didn't ask any other questions. And that was me trying to hide, right? It was not me being honest. I actually didn't feel busy. I really didn't. It was literally because that is programmed in a way in which I can answer. And you answered their question, but was I really connecting with them? And that was my own shit. And once I dropped those walls and I was like, you know what? They're asking. They're following me. They're really actually interested. Why don't I tell them something and see how they respond? And when I did that, it created a deeper relationship with my friends. Because I did not have my own lens of they don't really care. And am I rubbing it in their face if I'm perceived as successful? That was my own shit. And I was answering it with things like, really, really good, things are busy. And when I stopped saying that, they were actually interested. And now I felt seen and I felt cared about. And I was able to do the same thing with them. And I am talking about friends that I have known that our kids have grown up together. We have 20-year-old kids. Like, we've been friends for a very long time. And what was I avoiding? That's the work. And I'll have to tell you that that was one of the last pieces of this work. I was able to work on this in my business, within my family, but it was this friends like dynamic that I was still experiencing. Oh, I'm just going to say busy. Yep, things are really good. So, what arena are you going to start observing in? Where can you drop the badge of honor that you're busy? Because the last thing I wanted was for my friends to stop asking me over for barbecues or events or things because, she's just always so busy. But that wasn't the truth. I would have loved for them to ask me to go do things because I would have made time for them because that's the things that matter most to me. But they couldn't hear that because I was giving them a line of BS because I was uncomfortable with being seen and owning my success. I want you to start noticing when you feel that pull to fill every moment with activity. What are you afraid of that will happen in that stillness? I think I shared this in my conversation with Jude last week, but my growth, my edge, my challenging myself was not about doing more because that is my natural MO. I realized that my growth opportunity was doing way less, being quiet, having the stillness, doing workouts that looked more like yoga than a power workout, having hobbies that were less active and more like watering my houseplants. What does slowing down and being with your own thoughts and having a less frantic pace look like? And for me, I'll tell you that when I was able to find those moments that felt right for me to slow down, it allowed me to move a lot faster with clarity in my business. I want you to pay attention to how you feel when you see someone else who seems calm and in control of their time. Is that something that you yearn for? Do you believe that it might not be true, like you can't even wrap your mind around it? What is your reaction when you do see someone else that is in control of their time, their team, their business? And here's one little small experiment that you can try. I say small. It's not small because I just shared it. The next time someone asks you how you are, pause before answering and just breathe. And see if you can respond with something other than busy or I'm being really intentional with my time. Like, can you say that? Can you say, things are really good. My schedule is full of things that I love. Or any other variation of that. And so when I say a small experiment, I kind of mean, yes, it's a small experiment, but it's a big one because I just shared with you when I realized why I was answering busy to friends that I have known for a very long time. And it had nothing to do with them. It had everything to do with my own thoughts of how they would see me or how I would look like I was being bragging to them, right? And so where can you answer more authentically when someone asks you, how are you doing? Maybe you answer, I am really excited about this new project that I just started with a client. Or you can say, I am really looking forward to finishing a few key projects with my best ideal clients. Or maybe you can answer something like, things are going really good. I have built a team that really supports the growth of the business. Or even just answer, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Dip your toe in there. You don't have to share it all. Notice how that feels. Notice their reaction, right? That's what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm going to be more honest. They're asking, they keep asking. So maybe they actually want to know how my business is doing, and notice the reaction. Notice if the world ends. Spoiler alert, it does not end. And in most cases, and I'm not going to say all cases, but many cases, you will be shocked at when you answer authentically how that opens up relationships with people all around you. Think of your contractors, your vendors, the people you work with, your team, your friends, your spouse, right? Like sometimes we run through our business and we think if your spouse is not a business owner, you may think like they don't get it. How could they get it? They don't do this. They go 9 to 5. They're on salary. They just don't understand. Well, if they're asking, they're trying to understand. And if you tell yourself they just don't understand and maybe they don't care, now you're creating that distance instead of intimacy and closeness and building your support around you. I want to be really honest with you about why this is so hard to do alone. Meaning, this is not a little shift. This is not a quick fix. But doing it alone, it's hard because those beliefs that we talked about in the beginning, the top of today's episode, they're not just thoughts that you have that are easily observable often. They're wrapped around your own identity. They're tied to your sense of safety and your worth. And unwinding them while you're still in the middle of running a very successful business, it's like trying to repair a plane while flying it. It's not advisable, right? But this is the work that I do with my private coaching clients every single day. And I'm not giving them a one-size-fits-all solution, but I'm helping them untangle their specific versions of the busy badge and restructuring their business to support their intentional energy in their business. So intentionally managing their time, intentionally leading their team, intentionally making systems and processes in their business so that the business is not the reason why they are always in this frantic, busy energy. We work on their mindset and their business model. We work on boundaries and their systems. We work on their energy and service delivery. Because what works for me, Amber, might not work for you. And I can tell you it's absolutely true that what might work for one business owner may not work for another. Or like your business bestie. They're your business bestie. You have a lot in common, but I can guarantee it is not the same exact things that will work for each of you to get the result that you desire in your business. So here's what I want to leave you with. The shift from busy to intentional isn't about doing less. It's actually about choosing better. It is not about having an empty calendar. It's about having a calendar that reflects your values, your priorities, your own vision of success. It's not about never being busy. It's about being busy with the right things for the right reasons. Again, being busy is not a bad word. So I want to be super clear about what we're talking about here today. I'm talking about the too busy that's toxic, that is creating all of this stress in your business and life. I'm talking about the energy of busyness that is affecting your decisions or indecisions in your business. And if you are sitting here thinking, yes, but how? Like, how do you be busy on the right things for the right reasons? That's exactly the right question. That's the question that shows that you are ready to do the work. And the answer starts with deciding that you're worth more than your busy badge, that your business deserves a leader who is intentional, not just reactive, that your life is too precious to spend in constant motion without having true meaning. The shift is possible. I guarantee the shift is possible. I've done it for myself. I've seen it time and time again for my clients. But it starts with being honest about where you are and being willing to get support for where you want to go. So there you have it. The real reason that you're always so busy. It's not your overflowing inbox or your packed calendar. It's those underlying beliefs that have been running in the background like an operating system you didn't even know was installed. It's the disconnect between what you say, I'm so busy, and what you feel, I'm drowning. It's the way you literally built your entire business to require your constant motion. It's the badge you've been wearing because you thought it might mean something about your worth. But now you know better. You've seen what wearing that badge is really costing you. Your health, your relationships, your joy, your strategic thinking, your business growth. It's costing you everything. And you've seen a glimpse of what's possible when you shift from busy to intentional. When you stop measuring your value by your exhaustion level. When you build a business that supports your life that you want, not one that demands everything you have. Remember, this isn't about having an empty calendar or avoiding hard work. I love being busy when it's the right kind of busy. When it's intentional, it has boundaries, and is aligned with what matters most. When it energizes rather than depletes. When you're in control of it, not the other way around. This is about recognizing the difference between toxic, busy, and intentional engagement. It's about choosing better. It's about being the leader your business actually needs, not frantic, not reactive, but intentional and strategic. The question now isn't whether you can make this shift, because you can. I've seen it happen over and over again. The question is, are you ready to take off that busy badge? I know this episode might have hit close to home. Good. That means that you're ready to hear it. That means that you're ready to do something about it. And I am so thankful that you have tuned in to this episode of the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. And I sure hope today's episode was insightful and it's meant to empower you. It was meant to give you clarity. It was also meant to be a resource for you to choose and choose something different. No change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So today's take action, all I'm asking you to do is observe as you are out in the world, the next time someone asks, how are you? And just notice what that internal dialogue is. And are you defaulting to busy, super busy? What is the energy that you're bringing to that conversation? I just want you to start paying attention to how that feels. And something else that you can do just subtly, if this isn't with somebody else, when someone asks you, how are you, is just observe your internal thoughts and energy around your day. How are you approaching on Monday? How are you approaching coming into the office? What are your thoughts when you think about the day you have in front of you when you're working? And if that undertone is reactive, chaotic, overwhelmed, busy, frantic, reactive, this is what today's episode was about. And I want to give you hope because I got to actually tell you something. I started my business 15 years ago because I was working as a business coach for real estate professionals, and I was helping them build business systems and leverage through growing a team. Those were the two areas that I focused on. And when I was doing that work, I realized, oh my gosh, like these are very quote unquote successful, highly paid in their profession professionals, and they are business owners, and their light is being dimmed. Like they truly are not enjoying life, even though from the outside in, on all accounts, they should be enjoying life. And that was when this seeded, and it's been evolved over the last 15 years. But I was like, wow, if they can get control of their time management, if they can be more productive, they can lead better, they can have time to work on their business, not in their business. And what you heard in today's episode is an evolution of 15 years of realizing, what does it actually take to ensure that your light is not being dimmed, that you can go out into the world and do what it is that you are meant to do, to have an impact and to help people. And that's this work that I was talking about today. So if you are tired of wearing a busy badge and wearing it like a badge of honor, if you are ready to stop letting your business run you and start leading with intention, I would love to talk to you, because that is exactly how I help my clients. This isn't about quick fixes or time management hacks. This is about the deep work of transforming both your mindset and your business, from one that requires constant chaos to one that supports the life you actually want. I help my clients untangle their specific versions of toxic busy and rebuild their business to support intentionally leading their business. We work on that belief. We work on all those beliefs. It's often many. We work on the boundaries, the systems, the strategies, because that's what real change requires. If you're ready to explore what that transformation could look like for your business, I invite you to schedule a discovery call. Let's talk about how we can partner together to help you shift from exhausted to energized, from reactive to intentional, and from busy to truly successful. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/call to schedule today, or you can learn more about my coaching offering at amberdelagarza.com/coaching. And if you are new here, please stay tuned for another episode. We are not always this deep and this heavy, even though this was a super valuable episode. Be sure you hit subscribe so you do not miss another episode. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, this is my one ask from me to you, is if you have enjoyed today's episode, if you found value in today's episode, please share it with another business owner. Help me spread the word. Let me help as many business owners as I can through episodes just like this. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.